tonight. And then there were 6. Sunak and Mordaunt are among Tory leadership candidates still standing. But with Boris Johnson still in post as PM, Alba Party MPs caused raucous scenes in the Commons.
If you want to go out now, but if you stand again, I'll lord you out. Make your mind up. Either shut up and get out.
We're live in Westminster. Also making the headlines, pressure on maternity services. Midwives say more support is needed for new mums. Open for business. St Andrews prepares for a global audience as the home of golf hosts its biggest ever event.
And Ukuleles for Ukraine airs Gaiety hosts a gala fundraising concert.
I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm Gordon Cree in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6.
Good evening. In the last hour, we've found out which candidates have made it through the first round of voting in the battle to be Prime Minister. Rishi Sunak and Penny Mordaunt topped Tory MPs' choices in the first round, with Nadhim Zahawi and Jeremy Hunt no longer in the picture.
The results came at the end of a volatile day in Westminster. The Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, kicked out 2 Alba MPs after they staged a protest at the start of Prime Minister's questions. Well, as the field thins, live now to our Westminster correspondent Catherine Sampson for the very latest.
Yes, well, to make it through this first round, the candidates had to secure the support of at least 30 Tory MPs. Now, that means we're down to 6 candidates going forward to the next stage of voting. There'll be a vote tomorrow. There's going to continue to be votes until the party can whittle it down to 2, and then those candidates will go out to be picked by the membership. Now, you can see the front runners emerging there, but a lot can still change. Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor, Penny Mordaunt and Liz Truss. Now, Penny Mordaunt's interesting, not a household name by any stretch of the imagination, but there was actually a poll done today by Conservative members. They were placing her as their firm favourite. Now, just as the voting was opening to pick a successor, the Prime Minister was in the chamber holding an extremely rowdy session of Prime Minister's questions, where 2 Alba MPs were kicked out for staging a pro-independence protest. At Westminster, temperatures and tempers are running high. Chaos as MPs gathered. Shouts of protest against Boris Johnson blocking another independence referendum.
Shut up and get out!
First Kenny McCaskill, then Neil Hanvey were booted out. Outside Parliament, the 2 Alba MPs were unrepentant. Kenny, Neil, you were just kicked out. What are you doing?
Well, it's a democratic outrage. It's time Scotland had the right to determine its own future, rather than having a future determined by a handful of Tory MPs and then by a handful of Tory members.
Keir Starmer.
Back inside, Sir Keir Starmer got to challenge Boris Johnson for the first time since he announced he would step down.
The Prime Minister must be feeling demo-puppy since he was pushed out of office. Finally, he can throw off the shackles, say what he really thinks, and forget about following the rules.
Boris Johnson hit back.
Any one of them would wipe the floor with Captain Crasheroony's snooze fest, Mr. Speaker. And after a few weeks' time, that is exactly what they will do.
So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the Right Honourable Penny Mordaunt MP, our next Prime Minister.
One of the favourites formally launched her bid today. Penny Mordaunt, a firm Brexiteer, appealed to MPs who are looking to the next general election.
I am your best shot at winning that election. I am the candidate that Labour fear the most.
Who will replace you, Prime Minister?
Boris Johnson has refused to back a successor, but continues to defend his record.
I will be leaving soon with my head held high.
I can say with all sincerity, I hope whoever is the next Tory leader will be as popular in Scotland as he has been.
The SNP's Westminster leader called the Tory leadership contest a race to the right.
Is the real reason that the Prime Minister won't endorse any of these awful candidates because whoever becomes the next Tory leader will make Genghis Khan look like a moderate.
I feel a real twinge, Mr. Speaker, that this is probably virtually the last time I'll have the opportunity to answer a question to perhaps because he's going or because I'm going, I don't know. The next leader of my party will want to make sure that we do everything we can to work with the Scottish Government in the way that I've been able to do, I'm proud to have done over the last few years, to protect and secure our union.
The Prime Minister will leave for good in September. Today felt like the start of a long goodbye.
Catherine Sampson reporting there from Westminster. And if you're wanting to find out more about the candidates in the leadership contest, you can watch a live television debate this Sunday at 7 o'clock here on STV. Scotland's maternity services are seeing a build-up of demand on services and staff. And now the Royal College of Midwives is demanding more funding to help alleviate the pressure.
The calls for more resources and training comes as research shows an increase in complex health needs for pregnant women over the last 14 years. The Scottish Government says it welcomes the study and will consider its findings carefully. Ivana Holland reports.
Miriam came to Scotland whilst she was pregnant. She wasn't registered with the health service, didn't even know the emergency number. When she couldn't feel her baby move, she began to panic. Her first call was to her contact at the charity, Amma.
And she was like, "Where are you?" "I'm here." She came to me. She called the emergency number. The ambulance came, they picked me up. Then we went into the hospital. Having a child is a big deal. So talk of having it alone, you are by yourself in a new environment, it's very difficult. If you are not informed, you'll probably be in your house, be sick, and you don't get help.
Amma is just one of the many charities and support groups across Scotland offering invaluable advice and comfort to pregnant women and new mums, and lift the burden of antenatal needs from the NHS. But the Royal College of Midwives say maternity services are being underfunded and understaffed.
Currently, we know there's only 2 consultant midwives in Scotland. That's a key expert clinical role, and we welcome that there is progress now being made to recognise the need for lots of different roles to make sure that we're absolutely prepared.
The demand for more funding comes as research published today shows the new norms in our culture mean there are likely to be increased complexities during pregnancy. Like more often, women are having babies later in life, or if they've previously had a caesarean section.
But also by identifying women earlier on in their pregnancy, it means where there are resources which we know are limited in the health service, we can just make sure they're targeted better as well to women who are going to have greater needs and maybe at higher risk of problems, actually making sure some more of the resource goes towards them as well.
The study covers data until 2018 and so doesn't include the impact of the pandemic. But the RCM wants more tailored training for midwives so women have the best care when they're at their most vulnerable. Ivana Holland, STV News.
Long COVID patients are being urged to be wary about travelling abroad for treatment. Experts say they understand the frustrations of those campaigning for better care, but that they shouldn't jump the gun by signing up to procedures which haven't been subject to robust clinical trials in the UK. However, some sufferers say they've been left with no choice. Well, Kay Nicholson joins me now to discuss this further. What's the background to this, Kay?
Yeah, so Kellyanne, we all know the phrase long COVID by now. You know, it's very much 3 months after you've first had the virus. If you still have lingering symptoms, that's what the umbrella term is. But that's kind of where the similarity ends between each patient, because for each person it can be very, very different, and that's where the problem lies. Many say they feel left behind by the health service here, and that's why some are now resorting to travelling abroad for different treatments. And today I spoke to Kate Stott from Aberdeen. She first caught COVID back in March 2020. She's since had it another twice. And we got her on a good day today, she said. She said she was up and about with her kids in her house, but sometimes she is bedridden, and that's why she's taking matters into her own hands.
I'm having to travel to Germany next month to go get tested for microclots and hyperactive platelets, and hopefully pick up the prescription for some treatment there and take it home. I would much rather be spending the money on a holiday with my children and my husband, but if it helps, then you know, of course, you're going to pull out the stops to do whatever you can. It wasn't booked on a whim by any means. But there is a lot of research to say that it does help. It isn't an option to do nothing.
There is a large community of people with long COVID. There's a movement. They can sort of lobby for treatment, better treatment, and absolutely support them with that. I just think it's important that these things are done in a proper scientific way.
So the views there of someone living with long COVID and a doctor, clearly mixed views.
Absolutely. So you heard from Laura there, who's doing a long COVID research project, and she's one of many with a word of caution about travelling abroad for these treatments. She and many others say there just needs to be more robust clinical trials before taking that action. But for Kate, who we heard from, she says she's going to be very open about how her treatment works and share it with others in the hope of giving them some hope, something else to work towards. And she and many other campaigners just don't think there is enough being done in this country to make long COVID a priority. So she and many others say there's little wonder that they are travelling abroad and taking these drastic measures to try to get better.
And there's more on this case, isn't there, on the ITV Evening News. Thanks very much for joining us.
There's a warning tonight. Scotland is seeing an increase in cases of human trafficking. Support workers say it's a problem that's got significantly worse in recent years, and it's in the spotlight again after revelations from Olympic athlete Mo Farah about his childhood. Vanessa Taff reports.
Most people know me as Mo Farah, but it's not my name or it's not the reality.
He's one of the UK's most decorated athletes, but Sir Mo Farah's been living with a huge secret. Aged 9, named Hussein Abdi Kahin, he was trafficked to the UK and forced to work as a domestic servant.
That is my photo, but it's not my name. From that moment, coming in with a different name and different identity.
In Scotland, those working with victims of trafficking warn the problem is getting worse.
In the year of COVID, we had over 320 victims that were rescued in Scotland. The year before, there was over 520. Now, that's because we stopped recording in the year of COVID. But now we're seeing at least 4 times that on a daily basis. So we're anticipating the numbers to be significantly higher, so over 1,000.
To help children trafficked here, the Scottish Guardianship Service pairs them with trusted adults for support.
All of these things are so scary for children, instructing a lawyer, going to the Home Office to be interviewed about the worst things that have happened in your life is terrifying.
Lawyers that work on cases of child trafficking say the threat of deportation stops many victims coming forward.
I think there's always the grave concern that they have that they're going to be deported, they're going to be removed, that their status here isn't safe, they're not secure.
The Home Office say they won't take action over Sir Mo Farah's case because he was a child at the time. For many victims, this modern form of slavery remains their reality. Vanessa Taff, STV News.
Other stories now, and rail workers at the RMT Union, including signal staff and maintenance engineers employed by Network Rail, are to stage a further 24-hour walkout on the 27th of July. That's the day before the Commonwealth Games begin in Birmingham.
A man's admitted starting a fire which wrecked a historic church in Glasgow last July. 25-year-old Ryan Haggerty sparked the blaze at St Simon's in Partick, which spread to the home of an elderly nun. He was remanded in custody and will be sentenced next month.
And rugby legend Dodie Weir has been made an honorary graduate at Abertay University. The former Scotland international is being recognised for his work raising awareness of motor neuron disease after announcing he was diagnosed with the condition in 2017.
If it was not for the support I've received and the generosity, I don't think I would have been here. So on behalf of all of them, thank you very much. And it's lovely to be in Dundee today.
Dodie Weir there. Now the stage is set and the world is watching Fife. After a 2-year delay, the 150th Open will finally tee off in St Andrews in the morning.
And the town will see its population soar as around 300,000 visitors flock to its fairways. Lynn Rankin has been out meeting some of the spectators and the businesses banking on a busy week.
Now you're singing with us.
A song and dance as the 150th Open swings into St Andrews. The town is teeming with visitors from around the world who are being treated to some unseasonably Scottish sunshine, lighting up the famous links.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You can just feel the energy in the air. It's just, you can tell how special it is.
We came last year, and we're one of the few Americans that did come over, and it was very, very quiet. So it is thrilling to see all these crowds and people eating outside.
Everything's full, isn't it? Every bar is full, the streets are full, the shops are full. But there's just a lovely buzz. It's just so nice.
St Andrews has waited 2 years to host the 150th Open, but finally the stage is set, the world is watching. Little over 18,000 people live in St Andrews, but with the Open swinging into action, visitors will drive up the population by 16 times that amount, with around 300,000 people packing not only the grandstands, but bringing businesses a big boost.
It's just a breath of fresh air to see everyone back, so happy, and there's such a great atmosphere. It's almost like it's on holiday overload, and it just gets busier every night, and more people come into town, and we're welcoming them with open arms.
By Sunday, one of the world's greatest golfers will lift the claret jug and a record £2.1 million prize money. But with £100 million expected to be generated for the local economy, it's traders who hope to be toasting a winning week. Lynn Rankin, STV News.
Tonight, the Air Gaiety Theatre is hosting a gala concert for Ukraine, featuring folk stars and a special performance from a Ukrainian refugee. The event comes as the Scottish Government pauses its refugee sponsorship programme due to a lack of suitable accommodation. So far, 7,000 Ukrainians have arrived in Scotland, with more expected in the coming months. Polly Bartlett reports.
Putting the finishing touches to their performance. Tonight, the Dalrymple Ladies Ukulele Orchestra will open the Air Gaiety's Concert for Ukraine.
I think music says things that words can't. I think music touches emotions that other things can't. Certain bits of music will immediately remind you of family members or of past. Music's intrinsic to our lives. It's woven into us. So I think to express our humanity, our compassion, our caring, everything about us, use music.
Ukrainian composer Vlada Kopreniova will also play. A refugee from Kyiv, she's been rehearsing in a church hall in her new home of Stirling. Her husband and family are still living in Ukraine. This will be the first time she's performed since the war began.
I very like Scottish music and Scottish nature and Scottish people. Bagpipes, very loud, and very expressive instrument. I like.
Ickle, dickle, dickle, dido, come into my world.
The concert is raising money for the Scottish Refugee Council. They've helped almost 7,000 Ukrainian refugees so far.
You see the images on television, you think, what can I do for this? There's nothing we can do. There's absolutely nothing. But to raise a few shillings or a few pounds, hopefully, from this event, if that saves one or two families, or it goes to help a family get here, or give them food, clothes, it's just a wonderful thought to do that.
The doors will open at 7 p.m. for a night of traditional Scottish music and ukuleles for Ukraine. Polly Bartlett, STV News, Ayr.
Now, time for sport with Ronnie.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Yes, good evening. Scotland's Bob McIntyre says he had goosebumps driving into St Andrews ahead of the Open. McIntyre is one of only 3 Scots in the field and admits the old course this week could provide one of the trickiest tests in golf. Meanwhile, tournament bosses hit out at the Saudi-backed Breakaway Live Golf Series, saying it's not in the best interest of the sport, as Brandon Cook now reports.
The countdown is well and truly on. In just under 12 hours' time, the world's best golfers will be out on the famous old course competing for the iconic claret jug. Excitement around St Andrews is growing, and Scottish hopeful Bob McIntyre admits this particular event has a special feel.
When I was driving in on Sunday, it's the first time I've ever had goosebumps coming to St Andrews. This is the Ultimate Open Championship this week. It's a dream come true for me, but it's something that I've got to compete. I'm trying to win a golf tournament.
But the world's best will need to prove it this year to have any shot at glory. It might be 469 years old, but the old course could test players to the limit this week, with unusually hot weather baking fairways and firming greens. There's also the chance of a few drops of rain for the world's best to contend with. All of this adds up to an exciting spectacle for fans and a potentially tricky few days for players.
This isn't the way we know it. And I've played here so many times now, and remember, me used to throw balls at the pins and it would stop. When I played amateur stuff, played the Dunhill, but now this week you're just hitting shots. Like if you're in the rough, you can't throw it onto the green.
Despite the conditions, an Open Championship at the home of golf is a dream come true, even for the world number one.
To be able to come and play this golf course in an Open Championship is going to be really special, just with the history and all the stuff I've seen at this golf course.
But while anticipation grows for this year's tournament to tee off, rumblings on golf's other big story continues. The Open's organisers had this to say on the controversial Saudi-backed breakaway league.
There is no such thing as a free lunch. I believe the model we've seen at Centurion and Pumpkin Ridge is not in the best long-term interests of the sport as a whole and is entirely driven by money.
Conversations on that will continue, but the focus for the thousands hoping to catch a glimpse of the action is on what happens on the course over the next few days. There's no doubt it promises to be a historic weekend of golf back where it all began. Brandon Cook, STV News.
Well, one man who knows what it takes to lift the claret jug and also trusted to hit the opening shot tomorrow morning is Paul Laurie. He won in 1999 at Carnoustie and says he's hopeful it isn't long until another Scot gets their hands on the trophy.
I mean, obviously I don't want to be the last Scot that wins the Open. I want Scottish players to win the Open all the time. We've got some talent coming through that there's no question. They're all capable, of winning the Open. They're all more talented than me, and I managed to win it. So here's hoping that this week or maybe the next few years we get a Scottish player lifting the jug again. It'd be lovely.
So it is the world's most famous course, but what's it like to play? Our reporter Jamie Borthwick was lucky enough to find out.
There are few more iconic opening tee shots, not least in the presence of the claret jug itself. More than enough pressure to weigh upon this 17 handicapper. That one narrowly avoided hitting a caddy on the 18th fairway. The key to the old course is don't hit it right. Nearly every hole goes out of bounds to that side. If you're lucky enough to get away with it, there's plenty of gorse to negotiate too. Famously, 14 of the holes are shared greens, meaning putts of over 100 feet can be a regular challenge. When the wind blows, it tends to come from behind on the front nine and into the golfers' faces on the way back home. Even this moderate 15-mile-an-hour breeze contributed to me hitting an extra 8 shots on the back nine. The deep bunkers didn't help either. The 17th at St Andrews, the road hole, it's arguably the most famous hole in golf and certainly one of the most daunting tee shots. This one can get in a player's head. Let's see how I get on.
Oh, hello.
Well, every club golfer gets one out of the screws every now and again. But with another 200 yards into the wind to reach the green, the 17th still cost me a double bogey 6. To play the 18th for the first time is a transcendental experience. The simple hole itself takes a back seat to the theatre and the history. Playing golf here adds up to so much more than the sum of its parts. Jamie Borthwick, STV News.
And if you live in St Andrews and found a golf ball through your living room window, you can contact Jamie on Twitter. To football now, and as Partick Thistle gets set to take on Kilmarnock tonight, Jags boss Ian McCall says his side are targeting a prolonged run in the tournament. These are some of the fixtures tonight. Dumbarton travelling to Aberdeen, it's Arbroath, Cowdenbeath, Clyde, Bonnyrigg Rose, Raith against Peterhead, and as we mentioned, Partick Thistle travelling to Kilmarnock.
We definitely would like to progress, there's no doubt about it. It's not just from a financial point of view, but the League Cup is a pretty relevant trophy for our club, bearing in mind that we humped Celtic 4-1 in 71. So, it's one we want to do well in. And if you do well in it, you'll get the players will garnish their fitness anyway. So I think that's a two-way street.
Finally, disappointment for Olympic champion Katie Archibald. She'll miss the Commonwealth Games in a bid to fully recover from a string of injuries. The 28-year-old underwent shoulder surgery earlier this year after being left with concussion and a broken collarbone while competing at the World Cup in Glasgow in May. We wish Katie a speedy recovery. That's all your sport from me tonight, folks. We're back same time tomorrow. Bye for now.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Well worth keeping your eyes on the skies tonight. Sean can tell us why.
Hello there. The moon is at its perigee at the moment, which is its closest point in its orbit to Earth tonight, at 222,000 miles. In actual fact, it's moved 30,000 miles in just the last 2 weeks from its apogee, the furthest point away on its yearly orbit. So it has moved a bit closer. That does mean as the moon rises, it will appear ever so slightly bigger. 30,000 miles sounds a lot, but in the grand scheme of it, it's not much. But it will look a little bit bigger, and moonrise tonight, rising 10:30 across southern parts, nearer 11 o'clock in the north. But will we get to see it through the cloud breaks? Let's have a look.
Watch out for a sudden temperature drop. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Well, we've definitely lost the warmer air we had earlier on the week. Temperatures in the mid-20s in some central parts. It's always been quite a bit cooler in the west, but all of us in that cooler air and feeling especially chilly today in that breeze. Now, most of those showers are going to ease away through this evening. Broken clouds, so a fairly good chance you will manage to catch at least a glimpse of that supermoon as it rises up later on. Temperatures about 7 or 8 degrees. So actually quite a chilly night to come for some spots, especially for the time of year. Lanarkshire, the Highlands, northern parts of Stirlingshire particularly low. Now, tomorrow morning we will see lots of showers across northwestern parts. That's where they'll be most frequent and heaviest, spreading to all areas through the afternoon. But expect along the west coast and the Hebrides, those showers actually becoming much fewer and further between later on the day. We end the day plenty of dry and sunny weather. Temperatures about 15 degrees, down a shade or two on today's values in the east, down to about 18. Still not too bad, at least in the sunshine between those showers. Now, for the Open over the next couple of days, I expect there will be some showers around, probably more showers around during Friday, and some of those will be in the heavy side. Frequent showers really for all areas Friday. Then on Saturday we start to see the weather turning a lot more settled, a little bit warmer, 20 degrees, but then they start to skyrocket. It is Sunday, Monday and possibly even Tuesday I expect we'll start to see the highest temperatures coming in. At the moment, at the top end of the scale, I'm going Glasgow, possibility of 29 degrees. Falkirk, one of the top spots, where there's a small risk we could reach 30. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Well, it'll be past my bedtime, but I look forward to seeing your supermoon pictures. Do send them in if you get a good one.
Indeed, please do. And that's it from us. We'll see you again. We're back tomorrow at 6. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.